Hello everybody, this is Naz, welcome back, and oh my god, I did not think I was actually going to make this video today at all, because holy shit, I had such a weird, crazy, rough day at work today. I mean, god, okay, if you've ever worked in the food service industry, you'll understand what I'm saying, but like, people are dicks. People are absolute dicks to you sometimes, man. They don't give a crap about what is going on with you, what your responsibilities are. They don't give a crap about what your limitations are. They just want that service and they want it done well. And holy crap. Okay, I don't even know what to say. I mean, you know, working the drive-through at a Starbucks today was probably the most infuriating thing I have ever done in a long time, because some people just don't understand that you can only work so fast. No matter how much they scream at you, no matter how much they complain, no matter what they may say or what they may think, you know, they're only irritating you, they're only pissing you off, they're probably only tempting me even further to decaf all of their drinks before I hand them out. But anyways, well, let's get right back on track with what I want to do. For what you're about to see, what I'm going to do next is, I originally intended to do a little showcase of all of the units in the game. Like, I was going to showcase the Terran, the Zerg, and the Protoss, and all of their units, and just how they work, the situations they were useful in, and whatnot. But then I decided that was a little complicated and probably a little too much info to absorb at first when you're first playing the game. I feel that it's useful to understand what all the units that are available to you and your race are, but until you gain a good grasp for how to use the more basic stuff, there's really no need for you to even worry about the more advanced units, because you probably won't even have any idea how to train them just yet. So what I'm going to focus on is build orders. God, this water is so good. Build orders. Okay, so what is a build order? Let me go ahead and demonstrate what a build order is. We're going to go to Zelnaga Caverns, but I'm going to start the game without a computer opponent just so I can demonstrate it. So a build order is basically the order in which you're going to build everything at the beginning of the game in order to maximize your efficiency and set yourself up for a strategy in the early game. And so I'm gonna go ahead and start this so I can show it to you. What we're going to be looking at is, how am I spending my money? What am I doing with that money? You know, just making sure that I'm doing something useful with it, and that all of my money is being used up. So I'm going to wait for this to load up so I can get into more details, because I think it'll be easier once I start showing you. So I already showed you how to do basic controls, how to do resource gathering, so we're going to go ahead and just, as soon as the game starts, return to the game. I'm going to select all my workers, put them up, so I have to do that. Out of habit, I'm going to type GLHF. So I have all my workers on the mineral line. I have an SCV training, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to train SCVs up until I get to 10 supply. When I get to 10 supply, I'm going to make a supply depot. And we're just going to have to be a little patient here, because I really don't have much to say until I finish showing this to you. It's very important that you see it, because otherwise it's really hard to really understand what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go ahead and... Come on. So when the SCV trains, I'm at 10 supply, so I'm going to pull away an SCV, and just as that SCV starts training, I have 100 minerals. So I'm going to set my worker to start a supply depot down here. And why down here, I'll actually explain that in a minute, but I'm going to, if I start that supply depot right around as soon as my 10 SCV starts training, then by the time this SCV finishes training here, this supply depot will be finished, and I'll just be able to proceed directly into the 12th SCV. And you see how efficient and smooth that was? Alright, and now that I'm at 12 supply, I'm going to build a barracks down here. This is actually not quite as quick as I would like it to be, but it will do. And I'm going to remember to tell my SCV to head back to the mineral line when it finishes constructing. And now that I'm at 13 supply, I'm going to go ahead and build a refinery. I'm going to go ahead and hotkey my barracks. See how my money is staying low? I am making use of all of it at this point, just making sure that I'm constantly building these. The whole time I am constantly building SCVs, but I'm not queuing up SCVs to get rid of excess minerals. You do not want to queue up things, because those are just extra minerals that are sitting there in your base. And I set that as scout, like I normally would in a game. Not important that I show that right now, but just need to demonstrate what's going on up here. I'm going to pull away workers now that the refinery is done, so I can start gathering gas. Remember, it's three harvesters per gas maximum. So as soon as the barracks finishes, this SCV finishes training so I can get an orbital command. I'm also going to start training a marine immediately. And I'm going to throw down another supply depot.
Big job, huh?
Alright. So I'm going to set the rally point for over here. I'm going to start training on the Marine as soon as that one finishes training. And then I'm going to go ahead and set another barrack
Upgrade
here.
complete.
Actually, I made one tiny mistake here, but I will rectify it in just a second. Now that I have more than 100 gas and some minerals, where I'm gonna throw down my factory. I'm gonna make a marine. I'm gonna make an SCV. Or actually, it's queuing up an SCV. I don't really want to do that. My SCV has finished scouting. I'm just sending it back to the Cell Watchtower. Okay, let's stop right there. So what did we just see exactly? Like, you probably got a little confused there because I just kind of sped along and started doing things without really explaining them. But now we're going to go back and look at the replay, and we're going to look at exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to the build order. So we're at the replay screen right now. I'm going to go ahead and pause right at the beginning. I'm going to set the speed to twice as fast as the game normally plays out at. So the whole time I was playing the game, if you were paying attention to my minerals and to my gas and to my supply, there were a couple things you would have noticed. First of all, my minerals never really got too high. The moment they got too high, I started spending them with something, either by tossing down additional buildings or training additional units. My gas, as soon as I started going over 100 gas, I started making use of it by making a factory. I was actually a little late for that. I threw down a second barracks instead of a factory. I never got supply block. These are three very important things for you to keep in mind. So I'm gonna go ahead and just let the game play out here. Okay, let's just keep an eye on the minerals up here. Okay, I get up to 50 minerals and an SCV gets trained.
SCV ready.
I get up to 50 minerals and I queue up an SCV. This is the only time when it's acceptable to queue up an SCV, and the reason why it's not acceptable to queue up anything except for right now is because look down here at the command center. There's this SCV that's currently training, and then there's this SCV that is in line to be trained. The moment you put a unit in line to be produced, you have already removed those minerals and that gas and that supply from your total from your current pool of available resources. What this means is that this is 50 minerals that instead of sitting up here are sitting down here. Because in this early part of the game, there is not really very much else to spend it on. This is okay, but I just want to point out that for the most part, you do not want to queue up units like this. So anyways, we're going to proceed a little bit further.
SCV ready.
And one of the important things to keep in mind about build orders is that good build orders are all about having a stable economy. The whole time I was making buildings and structures and training units, I was always making worker units from the main building. Like, I always had one SCV training no matter what. And this is because you want to make sure that you have the strongest economy possible in the game. That means having the most workers you can possibly have. So in order to play the game really well, you just have to make sure you're constantly making workers. So you constantly have a good supply of income no matter what. You will always have tons of minerals, and you always have the potential to get tons of gas as long as you have lots of workers. But if you stop producing workers, your economy starts lagging behind. So you got to make sure that no matter what you're doing, you need to make sure you're making worker units. So let's go ahead and have this continue. So as soon as I got up to 10 supply, at that point, just from naturally harvesting minerals, my command center can no longer keep up with the mineral income. And so, you know, if we were to rewind just a tiny bit, let's go ahead and do that. Okay, here's the point where I'm at 10 supply, and now I have 110 minerals piled up. But I can't spend them any faster because I can only train one unit at a time. So this is the perfect moment, the earliest good moment for me to pull away an SCV and make something with those excess minerals. So I'm going to pull away and make the supply depot. And as soon as the SCV finishes, I'm going to put on another SCV. And so while this SCV finishes training and I wait for the supply depot to finish,
SCV ready.
my minerals are going to start piling up again because I have lots more SCVs than I did at first. So just being able to produce one SCV isn't enough to keep all this money down. So we got to be using that money on something. So the next step is going to be for me to make a barracks. So as soon as I I was a little late with this, but more or less at around this point, because we start having all these excess minerals up here, we're going to throw down a barracks. So we built a supply depot. This is assuming you're building workers consistently throughout the game. This is how it's easy to tell if your build or how to keep time with your build order. But basically, if you're constantly building SCVs and try to do this, you should build your supply depot at 10 and your barracks at 12. And you know, if you look at the in-game timer, if you want to use that to keep track of things as well, this is around the 1 minute and 54 second mark. If I had been a little bit more on top of it, it would have been a little bit sooner, but this is okay. So now that we while that barracks is constructing, I cannot make anything out of it, and I'm starting to have more minerals that I can spend out of all the structures I have right now. I have one SCV producing. That's about all I can do right now, unless I want to toss down another supply depot. But I don't need another supply depot just yet, because I'm at 13 out of 19 supply, and there's no way I'm going to fill that up that quickly just building SCVs out of one structure. So this is a good time to throw down a refinery, so that way I can start getting some gas to invest in later in the game.
SCV ready.
So at this point, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to keep building SCVs and letting this this money pile up. This is because as soon as this barracks finishes, I'm going to be able to make an orbital command. This command center, if you recall, I pointed out the orbital command and upgrade earlier in one of my earlier videos. It is very important for you as a Terran player. If you're going to be playing Terran, this is very important. Your economic advantages lie in the orbital command. So it is very important for you to get this as early as possible while still being safe. So at this point, if I just continue to make SCVs, if I have been doing this build order correctly so far, if I just continue to make SCVs, as soon as this barracks finishes, this SCV, this last SCV right here, the 15th SCV, will finish training, and I can just immediately go into making an orbital command because I had those resources ready to go. And it just lined up perfectly with the time that my barracks completed. So I could just morph immediately into the orbital command, and that's a very quick way for you to get it. And as soon as I start the orbital command, I also start my first marine. So now my money is back down and staying low, and I also made sure to put 3 workers on the gas. So that way I'm also starting to get income from gas now. So, and now that my minerals got a little high and that I can't produce anything but marines at this second, it's time to throw down another supply depot, because now we are starting to get pretty close to the supply cap, and we want to make sure we don't get supply blocked.
Gangway coming through.
Upgrade complete.
Alright, so at this point I want to point out that I made a small mistake. Because I got this gas. If you're going to get gas, you want to make sure you're going to be spending that gas. And what the mistake I made was I threw down a barracks instead of a factory, because factories cost 150 minerals and 100 gas. This was actually supposed to be my next step in this build order, but I overzealously just jumped onto the barracks. Now I quickly correct this, but nonetheless I want to point out that as soon as I got to 100 minerals, 100 gas, I should have thrown down this factory, because as soon as I got those 100, if I had been doing this build order correctly, by the time I'm ready to make a factory,